Ladies and gentlemen, the 42nd mayor of the great city of Los Angeles, Eric Garcetti.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all so much. A very good evening. Muy buenas tardes a todos. We are gathered here this evening to assess the state of our city. For me, this is personal. My roots in Los Angeles stretch back 4 generations and spread to nearly every corner of this amazing city, from the San Fernando Valley to Boyle Heights, from South LA to our west side. And these places are not just neighborhoods on some map. They've always been home to me. Los vecindarios de esta ciudad siempre se han sentido como mi hogar. And when I think of my home, I think first and foremost of my family. The people who made me who I am, my parents, my sister and her family, my wife and my partner, Amy, who inspires and supports me every single day. And of course, our dear Maya. Tonight, I stand before you as an Angelino, but so deeply grateful and so honored to serve alongside my colleagues, Council President Herb Wesson, our host tonight in the 15th District, mi fratello Joe Buscaino, and all of the special members of the City Council that are here today, our City Controller, my fellow elected officials and commissioners, Neighborhood Council, business and labor leaders, members of our Consular Corps and neighborhood associations, and most importantly, everyday Angelinos. I'm truly humbled to come before you for the 3rd time since I became your mayor. And each year I try to find a spot for this speech, which has meaning to me personally and to our city. Our first year we gathered near USC, where my father became the first person in our family to graduate from college, where my immigrant grandfather was a barber who cut the hair of USC professors. And we came together that night in the shadow of the Space Shuttle Endeavour, an awesome vehicle that was engineered right here in Southern California and that soared to the heavens. There, I launched our mission to get back to basics. Last year, I went home to the San Fernando Valley, in the shadow of movie studios and the aerospace industry, to a distinguished campus, Cal State Northridge, and we spoke of LA's future and the safety of our people. Tonight, we gather here, not far from our city's harbor, in communities that may look like, on a map, the forgotten tale of Los Angeles. But for students of history and for me personally, they've always been the anchor of our great city. Harbor City, Harbor Gateway, Wilmington, and San Pedro are some of the first places where this city embraced its future as a truly great and global metropolis. Down the street from here is our country's largest and busiest cargo complex. Together, its twin ports are responsible for more than 40% of the goods that come into our country, responsible for 1 out of 51 jobs in America, and 1 out of every 9 in our region. And already in the first 3 months of 2016, nearly $45 billion of goods have moved through our port, the busiest first quarter in its 109-year history. Our port is America's port, a vital economic engine that brings the world to our nation and our nation to the world. And this port is the reason that we've come to this factory floor tonight, the headquarters of Noribachi, an amazing company that could only happen in America, a success story that could only be told here in Los Angeles. Noribachi is the story of a married couple, one a nuclear scientist, the other a mechanical engineer, who went into business together and achieved extraordinary success in Silicon Valley. A few years later, they sold their software company and moved to New Mexico. They could have retired comfortably, but they're entrepreneurs. So they launched Noribachi in Albuquerque with the idea of manufacturing customized LED lighting for the next century. When we heard they were looking to grow their operations, my business team swung into action. We sold them on the proximity to America's port. After all, Noribachi does business in 9 countries. And while New Mexico may have offered some lower taxes, we were able to waive our city's gross receipts tax. And Los Angeles put them closer to the nation's most robust manufacturing supply chain, and that helped them cut costs. In the years since Noribachi moved to our city, the demand for their products has soared, and their staff more than doubled to 170 employees. But it gets better. Since coming to California, since they moved to the Golden State, revenues are up 340%. And we helped launch them. Yeah, give them a round of applause. And we helped launch them here because they reflect who we are as Angelenos and who we want to be as a city. They're high-tech, they're inventive, they're green, and they're global. And more importantly, they reflect our values. They embrace the old-fashioned American principle that employees should share in their company's prosperity. That's why Noribachi is going to pay their workers at least $15 an hour, not by 2022, not by 2020, but by the end of this year. You see, businesses like this aren't coming to Los Angeles by accident. They're coming here because this administration is working hard to create an environment where companies can expand and create jobs. When I raised my hand to become your mayor, I described City Hall as a place where jobs came to die. When companies came looking for help, they found none. And when they needed City Hall to get out of the way, we threw up one roadblock after another. City Hall wasn't focused on economic development anymore. Over the years, we had added layer upon layer of red tape instead of cutting it. For 2 decades, we watched our core industries go to other states, from entertainment to aerospace. We weren't focusing on those working Angelenos who needed us the most. Parts of our infrastructure were stretched and crumbling. Pipes were bursting. And when I became your mayor, I got back to work, turning City Hall around, focusing my team and every city department on a comprehensive job strategy to re-energize our city based on 4 core ideas: investing in our infrastructure, cutting taxes and red tape, supporting workers, and targeting key industries. First, investing in infrastructure. Infrastructure is how you lay the foundation for a city's future and how you create good middle-class paying jobs now. Los Angeles in 2016 is undisputably the local infrastructure capital of America, spending $2.5 billion to modernize our port, $14 billion reimagining our airport, and $40 billion on our public transportation network. Over the life of these projects, we will produce 560,000 good-paying jobs. That's more than the entire population of Atlanta. Second, on top of investing in infrastructure, we cut taxes and red tape to help our businesses grow and our skyline grow. And we've seen the success of our reform efforts, close to 38,000 housing units, the most in 25 years. We passed $160 million in tax relief for LA businesses so they could invest those dollars in jobs and factories right here. And this past year, we were home in LA to nearly $7 billion of active building development, the most in our city's history. Today, developments like the Wilshire Grand, which just recently topped out as the tallest building west of the Mississippi, are reaching for new heights. Third, along with investing in infrastructure and making it easier to do business here, we're investing in our workers. LA County has one of the nation's greatest disparities when it comes to what people pay in rent and what they take home in wages. And for too long, we weren't doing enough to close that gap. Angelenos were working harder and harder and falling farther and farther behind. So I launched a successful campaign together with this city council and labor and business leaders, and in this past year, we enacted the largest anti-poverty measure in this city's history, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And when the biggest city in the biggest state in our nation leads, others follow. LA County, surrounding cities. And just last week, California became the first state in the nation to guarantee a $15 an hour minimum wage. That began right here in Los Angeles. La semana pasada, California se convirtió en el primer estado en la nación en garantizar un salario mínimo de $15 por hora. Eso comenzó aquí. And this isn't some sort of new uncharted territory. It's actually a return to traditional American values that say if you work hard, you shouldn't live in poverty or work 2 or 3 jobs just to make ends meet. You should have time to be at home, to help your kids with homework, to share a meal with your loved ones. And our investment in workers isn't just about raising the minimum wage. It's also about raising the roof, landing those jobs that will pay $30 and $45 an hour, which will ensure that we build the middle class for the next generation. That means focusing on access and skills for our people. It's why we launched the Jobs LA app, which just last month puts 150,000 job prospects in the palm of your hand with your smartphone. It's why we created new job centers in communities with the greatest need, because City Hall should meet you where you live. It's why we more than doubled the size of our youth jobs program from 5,000 to 10,000 to 12,000 so that our children can feel the pride of their first paycheck, paychecks that will propel them on a path to prosperity. And I am here tonight to announce that this year we will connect 15,000 young people to jobs, tripling the number of youth jobs since I took office. But that's not all. We know that success in life begins with success in the classroom. That's why Superintendent Michelle King and I are working together closely to open up access to green space on our public school campuses. That's why we're making plans to significantly improve investments in arts education and how we're ensuring that every student has a library card with their name on it. And that's why we are so focused on youth jobs and educational opportunities like bringing STEM and coding classes to all of our neighborhoods. It's why our Promise Zone is seeing graduations rise and opportunities expand. And tonight, Los Angeles will become the largest city in the nation to commit ourselves to a new goal. Every hardworking student who graduates from LAUSD will receive 1 free year of community college. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Cada estudiante que se dedique y se gradúe a LAUSD va a recibir un año gratis en nuestros colegios comunitarios. In last year's State of the Union, President Obama proposed this idea as America's college promise. Here in Los Angeles, I'm working with LAUSD and our great partners at the Community College District to make that promise real. Thank you to Chancellor Francisco Rodriguez, to Board President Scott Svonkin, and Trustees Mike Fong and Nancy Perlman, and the entire board for your help and for your leadership. Give them a round of applause, too. You see, we know that when you plant the seed of college early, when you help kids secure internships in high school, when you show young people the pathway towards career success, it inspires them to do better. It incentivizes them to graduate. It helps academic achievement soar. And it ensures that we won't just attract the best people in the world to LA, we're going to help them grow up right here. Finally, in addition to infrastructure investments and making our city more business-friendly and supporting our workers, our fourth strategy is targeting key industries like aerospace, manufacturing, digital technology, green jobs, and Hollywood to create the jobs of today and the careers of tomorrow. And it's working. Thanks to our leadership in tripling the state's film tax credit, last year we brought $1.7 billion back to California that would have been spent elsewhere. That means that And thank you, Paul, for your work. What that means is that the people who light the sets, who drive the trucks, they're practicing their craft in LA again. They're spending their money in their own neighborhoods and laying down their heads on their own pillows at the end of the day. This year, 45 network pilots are shooting in LA, more than any city in the United States or Canada. Pilots, and I promise these are new TV shows, not old movies. Pilots like Lethal Weapon, 4 Stars, Cruel Intentions, 24 Legacy. These television pilots all shot here. My friends, Hollywood is coming home. When Hollywood comes home, that helps us change the lives of people like a 4th-generation Angelino, who broke into the entertainment industry in 2008 as a location scout. But at that time, film tax credits in places like Georgia and New York and New Mexico had lured so many productions away from our state that it was hard to find work in Hollywood. But today, he's never seen more opportunity right here at home. Last year, he landed a job on American Horror Story, which won the tax credit and which returned to Los Angeles after filming 2 seasons in New Orleans. And we're not just targeting Hollywood. We're targeting green jobs, opening the world's #1 clean tech incubator, home to over 48 companies and over $70 million in venture capital. We're targeting digital technology, where our reforms and our outreach have helped make Los Angeles County the tech jobs capital of America. From downtown to Playa Vista, from North Hollywood to San Pedro, this is our tech moment. And we're targeting aerospace, where we went after and won a federal advanced manufacturing designation that's already brought us $120 million and counting to modernize our aerospace workforce and assembly lines. You see, thanks to these efforts, Los Angeles City Hall is widening the circle of opportunity, and we're seeing these benefits ripple across every corner of our city. The summer before I became your mayor, our unemployment rate peaked at 12.4%. Today, unemployment isn't down just a little bit. We've cut it by more than half, adding 109,000 new jobs to our city. Hoy en día, el desempleo no ha rebajado un poco. Lo hemos reducido por la mitad, 109,000 nuevos trabajos. Now, some may say this is just coincidental, that we're just riding a national wave. But that's not what the numbers say. Just look at this last year. Last year, unemployment went down 9% in the United States. In California, it dropped 18%. But here in the city of Los Angeles, unemployment was cut by 25%, nearly 3 times the national average. Here in Los Angeles, we're not riding the wave, we're creating one. And just as America's goods come through this port, America's recovery is coming through this city. And economic prosperity translates into a better quality of life for all of us, helping us to improve the core services and helping us get back to basics. Today, we've more than tripled the number of trees we're trimming. We've set records for street paving at 2,400 miles, enough to stretch from here to New York City. We've hired firefighters for the first time in 5 years. And at the DWP, we've fixed a broken billing system. We've slashed wait times from 40 minutes to 20 seconds, focused on customer service, and passed a modest rate hike that will ensure bursting pipes aren't the mainstay on the evening news. And this year, together with the City Council, we will go further by leading the campaign to pass a ballot measure that will reform the DWP once and for all. After all, this is your utility. And we haven't just reduced the city's budget deficit, $250 million when I took office. Next week, I will present a fully balanced budget to our city, one that restores services and brings our reserve fund to a record high. Our bond rating is up, and those cracked sidewalks across Los Angeles? Well, this year, we will spend $31 million to fix our sidewalks. That's not just the most in a decade, that's the most in city history. This is what government looks like when it works for the people. And because of these efforts, there's a renewed sense of optimism about our city. When I go on trade missions to places like Mexico or China or Korea, global companies are lining up to lay our rail lines, to modernize our port, and to invest in our city. And when the meeting's over, those same executives are buzzing about the Broad Museum or the Peterson or the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. They want to come here. In Austin at South by Southwest, the buzz is about the new tech companies in LA. In Paris at the UN Climate Conference, they're talking about the bold moves we're taking to ensure a clean energy future. Around the world, people are excited about what we're doing here in the City of Angels. But that excitement is also reflected on our street corners, on Wilshire, on Vermont, on Ventura. Ask Angelinos, and more than 8 out of 10 will tell you they feel good about the direction of their neighborhoods. And why shouldn't they be optimistic about Los Angeles? They're seeing an attention to detail they thought government had given up on. And they're seeing a sense of ambition that after 2 decades of riots, of earthquakes, of the Great Recession, that they feared no longer existed. An ambition that says LA can do big things, like pass the most sweeping seismic safety plan in this nation, which we did this year with the City Council. And when the big one hits, this will protect more than 500,000 people in our most vulnerable buildings. Last year, here in LA, we hosted the largest sporting event in the world, the Special Olympic World Games. Last year, we brought mayors from both sides of the Pacific together for the first ever US-China Climate Leaders Summit. Last year, the Army Corps of Engineers approved our plan to restore the Los Angeles River. And now we're competing to bring the Summer Games back to American soil in 2024, and the LA Rams are coming home. This is a good time to be in LA. With a first-round draft pick, I should add, too. This is our Los Angeles today, a place with a big heart, a fierce spirit, eyes on the future, and a collective resolve to make tomorrow better than today. Here in LA, we don't run from challenges, we embrace them. We don't shy away from opportunities, we reach for them. And we remain clear-eyed about the challenges that persist in our city and the role that government must play in addressing them. Even though our economy is booming, I've often said, you can't average out prosperity. It can't just be measured by our unemployment rate or the total wealth in our city. Our progress needs to be felt by every Angelino in every neighborhood. The challenges our city faces today, poverty, homelessness, traffic, crime, discrimination, protecting our middle class, these are problems that may not affect each of us equally, but they are ours to confront together. In less than 3 years, we at City Hall have transformed City Hall from a place of closed doors and backroom deals to one of openness and accountability. That's why we shared our data with the public and put it online for everybody to see. I'm proud we did it, even though some said not to, and it wasn't painless. Last summer, for instance, the LA Times pointed out they used our data to show an unacceptable disparity in the cleanup of illegally dumped items. Since I took office, I was very proud that City Council and I had picked up more than 6,000 tons of illegally dumped garbage, and that we were meeting requests 99% of the time in many neighborhoods. But the story in the Times rightfully pointed out that parts of South LA and Highland Park and Westlake and other places were still littered with abandoned tires and old mattresses. Instead of getting defensive, we got to work. I ordered our Bureau of Sanitation to eliminate the backlog and to eliminate these disparities. And tonight, I can say that when a resident of South LA or any part of LA reports that something has been illegally dumped in her neighborhood, it gets picked up as quickly as it would anywhere else in our city. Just last week, we built on that progress by launching Clean Stat LA, a core part of our Clean Streets initiative. City workers drove every block of every neighborhood in our town and graded the condition of all 9,100 miles of streets. We're the first city in the nation to do this. And they found that about 4%, or 370 miles of our streets and alleyways, were in dire need of cleaning. We're going to target those streets. We're putting more boots on the ground, more cans on the corner. When I started as mayor, there was no money in our budget for proactively cleaning up illegal dumping. But this year's budget will increase funding for the 3rd year in a row to $12 million for this work. We are cleaning up our city. And those principles of openness and accountability, they also shape how we confront another challenge that every Angelino has a stake in: public safety. Crime has been going in the wrong direction in most large cities across America, and unfortunately that includes Los Angeles. Now, our city remains as safe as it was in the 1950s, but that doesn't mean much if you heard gunshots on your block last night. Nothing is more fundamental than the safety of our neighborhoods. Nothing more important than secure streets for our children and our families to walk on. That's why our approach to crime reduction has to be smart and targeted. For instance, when we saw last year that domestic violence was fueling much of the uptick in aggravated assaults, we fast-tracked our domestic abuse response team's expansion to give Angelinos facing abuse a way out. And I'm proud to say that tonight they're operating in every police division in our city a full 6 months ahead of schedule. And this year, we're making targeted investments in our police force. My budget expands overtime for our officers by $10 million and hires civilians to take over desk jobs, because cops belong in our communities, not in cubicles. Together, these steps are the equivalent. These two things together are the equivalent of putting 260 additional officers on our street this year. We also know that 4 of LAPD's 21 divisions are bearing the brunt of the uptick in crime. That's why last month we launched the Community Safety Operations Center in South LA. The center focuses our efforts on the relatively small number of people who are responsible for the large share of violence in our communities. In less than 1 month, officers in those divisions led a 2/3 increase of arrests of people carrying firearms. And last year, we recovered 6,900 firearms, the most in 5 years. We're going to keep taking guns and shooters off the streets of Los Angeles. But as we take those steps, we must also have an honest conversation about what may be fueling this increase in crime. So many men and women are returning home from prison without job prospects or anyone to turn to. That safety net that was supposed to come with criminal justice reform, it's simply not there. We feel the impact in our communities of this failure to provide folks with real opportunities to stay out of prison and off of drugs, to get a job or a degree. So we're calling on Washington and Sacramento to help, to fund our prosecutors and our programs. But while we're advocating there, we're acting here. The situation is simply too urgent to wait, which is why this past year I opened up an Office of Reentry for the first time since Tom Bradley was mayor. And today we're putting the final touches on a $9 million agreement with Caltrans to create a jobs program to train and permanently employ 1,350 formerly incarcerated Angelinos. And that's not all. That's not all. Over the next 4 years, the City of Los Angeles will provide education and job training to an additional 1,500 former gang members, thanks to the leadership of City Attorney Feuer. And over the next 2 years, we are going to be hiring 5,000 new city employees. And we're going to target recruitment in those communities with the most need, including ex-offenders. For thousands of individuals, these are transformative opportunities, a chance for people to redefine themselves through integrity and hard work. That's happening for a young man I know, a lifelong Angelino who grew up on the East Side. And I mean the real East Side for all you in Silver Lake. Like, too many people, don't worry, I'm from Silver Lake. Like too many people, he got mixed up with a gang. He committed a crime for which he spent almost a decade in prison. When he got out, he resolved to turn his life around. But he was 28. He had never held a job. And he kept being turned away from the ones that he sought. Some might say he needed a second chance. Others might point out he never really had a first, until he found Homeboy Industries. He took anger management classes and got his gang tattoos lasered off. Homeboy gave him a job cleaning toilets and washing floors, and in return he gave him 100% and never missed a day of work. Today, just 3 years later, he's running a program that trains formerly incarcerated Angelinos to install solar panels and put clean energy on our grid. Last year, I brought home from Washington $6 million to start a program called LA Rise, a program that supports organizations like Homeboy and helps young men like him get into our workforce, ready for their future and ready to help define ours. You see, stories like this remind us that every job that we create, every statistic that we talk about, they're not just numbers on a page, they're real people. Understanding the struggles of people I represent, that's my job as mayor. And responding to them, that's my greatest responsibility. I come to City Hall every day with one purpose: to advance the public good in this city, to transform lives for the better. And we see this transformation all around us. We see it in the experiences of a woman who, after living in Los Angeles for 35 years, is becoming a citizen with the help of the city. She moved here as a teenager from the Philippines after her father passed away and her childhood home burned down. This Angelino grew up here, she graduated here, fell in love here, got married here, and built a career in the public sector right here. But she was a legal permanent resident who had never pursued U.S. citizenship until she found out how easy that process could be in her city. She visited one of our branch libraries, visited the Citizenship Corner, where trained staff and free classes help Angelinos make real the dream of citizenship. This woman is one of 25,000 people that the city has helped through one of these corners. 25,000 of our family members, of our neighbors, our friends, our coworkers, taxpayers and students who will have an even greater stake in the future of Los Angeles. I believe that it lifts up our entire community when immigrants become part of the civic discourse, when they earn a better wage, when they graduate, when they have a voice in their city and their nation's future. Here in LA, we don't build walls, we build bridges. Aquí, en Los Ángeles, es beneficioso para toda nuestra comunidad cuando los inmigrantes se integran a nuestro discurso cívico, cuando ganan un mejor sueldo y cuando tienen una voz en el futuro de su ciudad y su nación. Aquí en Los Ángeles no construimos muros, construimos puentes. We see at City Hall our collective power to transform lives in other stories as well. Like a young man who was struggling just to make whose family was struggling just to make ends meet. His parents were both unemployed. A serious accident left his mother unable to hold down a job. His father was undocumented. The family survived on public assistance, stretching every dollar to cover the essentials: the rent on their one-room apartment, food for the dinner table. But this young man wanted to step up and to help his family, to help his mom and his dad and his brother and his sister. He was 14 years old. So on his summer break, he came to one of our city's youth job centers and got a paid internship and learned to work with others and to lead a team. And then the city helped prepare him for a huge youth jobs fair that my office co-sponsored in January, the largest in LA history. He walked into that employment fair in the convention center, and he walked out with a job, as did 1,000 of his peers. We see our power to transform lives in the story of a janitor who works at LAX. When he first arrived in the United States from Guatemala, he was just scraping by. Determined to do better, he took English classes, started fighting for his slice of the American dream. He applied for a job at the airport, and he got it. Now he goes to work every day and sees tourists excited to be in Hollywood, families who are reuniting, and business travelers coming to invest in our city, some of the record 75 million passengers who came through LAX last year. He sees the investments that we're making at LAX, new terminals, restaurants, and shops, because we're giving the entire airport a facelift. And soon that janitor will see trains bringing people to the planes, because together we are fixing one of the great mistakes of our past by finally connecting rail to LAX. Thank you. We're using the power of City Hall to build a great airport and a great life for workers, too. Because thanks to an agreement we hammered out at the airport, this janitor is earning $15 an hour plus benefits. Because a world-class city should have a first-class airport with a middle-class workforce. Finally, we see our power to transform lives in the story of a single mother I met last fall. She's a Navy veteran, a fellow shipmate, who lost her job and found herself with no choice but to sleep in her car. Thanks to our Home for Heroes initiative, I was able to help move her and her incredible family into a new home this past Veterans Day. That morning, we all jumped on the single air mattress her daughters had been sleeping on and deflated it once and for all. And then we built a brand new bunk bed to take its place. She's one of the 6,000 formerly homeless veterans that we have now housed in Los Angeles, more than Houston and Phoenix and Salt Lake City and New Orleans combined, the most of any city in America. En Los Ángeles hemos alojado a más de 6,000 veteranos sin hogar, más que las ciudades de Houston, Phoenix, Salt Lake City, y Nueva Orleans combinada. But there are still about 1,700 homeless veterans left in this city, and we will fight until we complete the mission and bring every last one of them home. And we need to do more than bring them home. We need to connect them to jobs. And I'm proud to say that my 10,000-strong Veterans Hiring Initiative has already connected 7,600 veterans to employment. You see, these kinds of outcomes are only possible when we aim for bold targets, when we realize that our most sacred calling is to ensure opportunity for all, regardless of circumstances. Because circumstances should not define us. A dropout, it's just a young woman who's lost her way. An undocumented immigrant is often American by every measure except the papers he holds. The homeless in our city, they're not some permanent class of people. They are fellow Angelenos who have fallen on hard times and need us to extend a helping hand. And I think that's something we can all relate to. Even if your situation isn't as dire as living under a freeway overpass, this city's housing crisis affects all of us. People are nervous about the prospect of ever owning their own home. They worry about being able to make the rent. The root cause of this isn't complicated. It's a matter of supply and demand. We simply haven't built enough housing to keep up with our population growth. We can all agree we need more affordable housing in Los Angeles. And it's pretty simple. If we're building luxury high-rises, we need to build homes for middle-class Angelenos, apartments that working families can afford. That's why I introduced a plan to double the number of affordable units that we build and preserve in this city each year. In this city, affordable housing shouldn't be a privilege, it needs to be a right. And as we build more housing, neighborhoods need to be able to trust that we're setting clear rules of the road, which is why my budget fully funds for the first time updates to every one of the 35 community plans in our city. These updates, these blueprints, will give Angelenos an opportunity to take ownership of the growth, the development, and the character of their neighborhoods. Together, we will put an end to the era of special perks for special projects. Now, we've heard a lot of ideas about how to address this crisis. Some have even proposed a moratorium on building. And I want to find common ground that we can agree upon. But let me say this loud and clear. We cannot put brakes on development. That will not get us out of this crisis. It will only make things worse, because fewer housing units means more people getting priced out of our city. And that's not who we are as Angelenos. We don't push people out, we come together. Nobody in this city is disposable. Each one of us is indispensable. And each of us has a role to play in building a more just, equitable, and livable Los Angeles. In the year ahead, I want to focus on two of our city's most stubborn challenges: traffic and homelessness. Everyone here has white-knuckled the steering wheel during rush hour. Everyone has seen the growing encampments around town. We need to make urgent short-term fixes and implement long-term solutions, because I don't want to solve a problem for just 1 year, or even 5 or 10 years. I know that I and this city council wants to solve the problems for the next generation. And in the year ahead, we're going to ask you to be a part of that. It starts with traffic. We lose billions of dollars and millions of hours every year in the congestion that clogs our streets. Unless we act now, it's only going to get worse. LA County's population is expected to go up by 500,000 people over the next decade. But if we invest now, we can finish the job that we've started. Just think of what we've already accomplished through Measure R and through aggressive lobbying in Washington. Next month, we're going to open up the Expo Line extension to Santa Monica, and for the first time in a half century, we're going to connect the skyline to the shoreline. Last month, we pushed our Gold Line east out to Azusa, and right now the Crenshaw LAX line is nearly halfway done, just 2 years after it broke ground. That investment means that a woman who works at a downtown tech company can get to the office on time. This woman says that without the Gold Line, she couldn't have taken that job. The drive would have taken too much time away from her family. Now she uses public transit and gets 2.5 hours back each week to spend with her son, who just turned 1. That's what's at stake. That's what this is about. Together, we can accelerate the progress we've made by approving this November a $120 billion investment that completes our comprehensive rail and bus network. And as part of this plan, I want to see the San Fernando Valley get its fair share, with light rail traveling down Van Nuys Boulevard. I want to see a tunnel through the Sepulveda Pass to relieve congestion on the 405. I want to finally connect Metro Rail with LAX, connect Burbank Airport to Universal Studios. I want to extend the Foothill Gold Line further east to Ontario Airport and connect the Green Line east to Amtrak and Metrolink and south to the communities right around here. I want to build our future, and I want us to build it together. Second, we must continue to aggressively tackle our homeless crisis and find homes for the 25,000 Angelenos who today have none. Beyond the extraordinary human toll, keeping people on our streets costs much more than finding them housing. So many of these Angelenos have borne the brunt of cuts to state mental health services, of a criminal justice system that lacks a safety net still today. It's a lesson that we've learned the hard way, through decades of failure and ill-conceived attempts to shunt the problem from neighborhood to neighborhood, from bureaucracy to bureaucracy, from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. I will not perpetuate that failure one moment longer. And in the last year, we have made meaningful progress. Just think about it. A year ago, the city and the county, they weren't working together. A year ago, we had only 18 outreach workers extending hands to tens of thousands of homeless Angelenos. A year ago, we had no comprehensive strategy to take on homelessness in our city. And a year ago, we had no commitment of new dollars. But today, the city and the county are fighting this battle hand in hand. Today, we have nearly tripled the number of outreach workers across the county. Today, for the first time in city history, we're using general fund dollars to cover housing vouchers. Today, we have a historic plan that will get people into homes more quickly than ever. And tonight, I am proud to announce that the budget that I will present City Council next week goes above and beyond our $100 million commitment to address homelessness. The budget that I will submit to our City Council will dedicate $138 million to get homeless people off of our streets. That investment is an increase of tenfold in our city. Mi presupuesto dedicará 138 millones de dólares para ayudar que las personas indigentes puedan tener un hogar propio. Eso multiplica nuestra inversión en las viviendas y los servicios por 10. That's by 10, if I didn't say that before. Now, it wasn't easy. We stretched, we reached, we collaborated, we searched for every penny, but we had to do it. Homelessness is and has to be our top priority. After all, real lives are on the line. But if we're going to win this fight, if we're going to lift our brothers and sisters out of homelessness once and for all, we can't count on a one-year stretch. We need to find a sustained source of funding. That's why I'm calling on the City Council to join with me and pass a linkage fee this year. Why this time next year, we intend to ask voters to approve funding for our comprehensive plan to combat homelessness. In all of the issues we've touched on here tonight, we're talking about challenges created over many years and even decades. Problems that can't be solved overnight, but problems that can be solved. When I think of them in relation to our moment in history, I'm reminded of the great things we have accomplished and the people who came before us. I'm reminded of a nation that looked to the West and the workers who broke their backs building railways and roads to link two great coasts. I'm reminded of a state that envisioned water flowing down our seaboard and then built the aqueducts that made this place possible. I'm reminded of a city that looked to the sky with wonder and purpose and kicked off the space age. I'm reminded of the dreamers who saw a harbor on the edge of a continent and then seized the destiny of a metropolis. I mean, if Kobe Bryant could post 60 points and lead his team to victory in his final game, come on, guys, we can do this. We can do this. We can do this. We can do this because this is who we are as Americans, as Californians, as Angelenos, as people. We reach for new heights. We dig to new depths. We dream of things yet unseen. And tonight, I'm here to tell you, my fellow Angelenos, that we are up to this task. We've heard some people's stories tonight, people who are living testament to the big things that we can do and the lives that we can touch. These Angelenos are here with us this evening, and I'd like you to meet them. The founders of Noribachi, who moved operations here to take advantage of our port and cement LA's position as the green jobs capital of our world. Thank you, Rhonda and Farzad Debachi. Remember the Angelino? Remember the Angelino who's working in Hollywood again? That's David Flannery, and he's here with us today. That young man, the young man who's turned his life around and is training former gang members for green jobs, David Andrade, and it's his birthday tomorrow. The longtime public servant who got support at one of our libraries and who will soon be an American citizen, my friend Ye Coronel. The man who's working at our airport and who's earning $15 at an LAX like so many in our city, county, and state will, Ezequiel Juarez Ramos. The teenager who wanted to help his family and got a job at our city's largest youth job fair, Benjamin Rodas, and he's starting his job at Starbucks tomorrow. Congratulations, Benjamin. The tech worker, the new mother who saves time by commuting on the Gold Line downtown, that's Kristen Spiato. And finally, the veteran that I helped move into a new home, her name is Lakeisha Anthony, and she's right here with her 3 beautiful girls. Each one of them reminds us what we as a city are working towards. Come on up, Maya, it's fine. She reminds me what I'm working towards. But all of these folks remind us what we as individuals are capable of. This is who I'm fighting for. Es por ellos que estoy luchando. This is our Los Angeles. And the state of your city, their city, your city, it's not only strong, it's getting stronger every day. Thank you so very much. Thank you.